I'm based in Berlin at Humboldt University. I have a grant from the German Research Council to edit Thomas Cramner's private notebooks from the Edwardian period on the Eucharist. Well, often it's the demanding schedule that I have to fulfill and just need to get on with it. But what sustains in the midst of a rigorous schedule are the tender mercies where you see how God's love has actually come and rescued someone, made a concrete difference, brought wholeness out of brokenness. You're absolutely amazed at what someone touched by Jesus can do in the lives of others. And in the midst of human frailty and rough edges and tons of shortcomings, how they're able to make a difference for others and how a community can be strengthened, and that in a world filled with so many examples of bad human decisions, one can even use the word evil, that God has not left himself without a witness, not only in the glory of nature, but the glory of him reworking our nature in Jesus Christ. That's so far in the distant past, I can't even remember. Originally, I came to Australia in 2001. I intended to be a chaplain at the Goodwill Games in Brisbane because I do sports chaplaincy work. And I decided that if I was going to go to Australia, I should try to come by Sydney and to speak to more college. And so basically, I sort of invited myself, and just as a get to know you, and people were gracious and invited me to the faculty, and I think by the end they even risked me speaking to their church history class, and out of that I developed some very strong friendships with people like Robert Doyle and Mark Thompson, Peter Jensen, and then they were gracious to invite me back. And in the first decade of this millennium, I came every 2 or 3 years. But for some reason, the last time I came was the 2009 Moore Lectures, and I haven't been, and so it's been about 6 years, which is most unusual. I don't want that to happen again. I think there's two things that's impressive, two things that are impressive for Moore College. One is the fierce commitment to trying to think things through biblically. I don't always live in that world, and it's always, for me, really personally helpful to see how systematically the folks at Moore try to apply what it means to live under Scripture. And that, of course, is Cramner's goal. That's the purpose of his liturgy, is to systematically sit under both hearing, reading, and praying Scripture. And it's always refreshing to see how Moore tries to do that in an Australian context. Equally impressive, though, is so many young men and women of such high abilities having been touched by God to offer their life in service, and just to see the fruit of the gospel at work in the Diocese of Sydney in an era where biblical Christianity, at least in Western culture, is being more and more marginalized. I suppose somewhat selfishly, it gives me hope that my life's work will not be lost in dusty archives where I spend my life, but that actually that the gospel of grace and gratitude, the centrality of the cross, the power of forgiveness and deliverance from sin at work in this world, that there's a new generation coming up, and that it won't only be for Sydney, that they're going to go throughout the world bringing this good news, the gospel. That gives me hope and excitement.